Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So episodes 5 and 6 of Ninjago Season 11 aired this morning, and as you could probably infer from the title, this video will have a lot of spoilers for those episodes, so if you do not want to hear these spoilers, I advise that you leave the video. But yeah, anyways, these episodes were titled, Episode 5 was titled, Booby Traps and How to Survive Them, while Episode 6 was titled, The News Never Stops. So we'll dive right into the story details for Episode 5 first. Episode 5 pretty much does focus on the pyramid, and we actually get to see some of the pirate snakes. And yeah, episode 5 also includes Clutch Powers. This is Clutch Powers' first interaction with the ninja, and it pretty much details some of the traps that the ninja and Clutch Powers experience in the pyramid. They venture into the pyramid finally, and Clutch Powers kind of guides them in, and they go through these few traps, such as the stair slide ramp trap, and there's some spikes and a bridge and stuff, and eventually they come to that mural of Asphira, where they actually have to put the pieces in order. But when they do this, actually what happens is Asphira gets released from a tomb when they put together the puzzle, and it is a depowered version of herself. As you can see in this image here, she appears black, not golden like we have seen her in her minifigure and in other shots, but yeah, she appears black pretty much, and kind of like a stone almost. And yeah, but then pretty much she briefly fights the ninja, and she has this staff that glows with this purple energy, and at one point, she starts to absorb Kai's power, as we saw in the trailer, and Kai's levitated in the air. And what's really interesting is actually, again, at the same point, she actually does spin jitsu here, and you can see her spin jitsu is kind of purplish, and she is doing spin jitsu while absorbing Kai's powers. This looks to me like normal spin jitsu more than forbidden spin jitsu, although of course we don't really know. Forbidden spin jitsu, from what we saw in the trailer of Lloyd using it, looks to be a little less like spinning or like a tornado, but again, we don't really know. I would wager that this is probably going to be normal spin jitsu that Asphira is using, but again, we don't really know. So yeah, Asphira gets powered up and stuff, she turns golden, and she easily captures the ninja. Clutch Powers flees because suddenly he's not really an explorer anymore, which is something we'll talk about later in the video. And then pretty much Asphira comes to Clutch Powers outside the pyramid and blasts him away with a meteor. Then the Fire Fang comes out of the pyramid, and that's kind of how the episode ends. The next episode is a very unique episode, and it's different than anything we've ever seen in Ninjago before, because this is actually the first episode where Jay doesn't appear in. This is the very first episode that Jay does not appear in, and this, actually, for that matter, none of the ninja appear in this episode either. So that's pretty big. This episode, anyways, does bring about Lil Nelson's first appearance in the series since his brief appearance in Skybound, and this episode also introduces us to Antonia, too. This episode is kind of a filler, but I think it's definitely better filler than what we had seen before. It was nice to see an episode centered around other characters rather than the ninja, and I thought that it was a cool idea. It pretty much shows Little Nelson, who has actually become a post boy or a newsboy now, and those guys are going around throwing out newspapers while the Pyro Snakes begin their invasion of Ninjago City. And these meteors are erupting from the pyramid, and when they land in Ninjago City, a Pyro Snake, one of those actual snake creatures, and by that I mean the ones that actually look like real snakes, not the ones with legs, one of those snake creatures actually ends up spawning. We see a brief scene with Pixel being Samurai X and showing up to save the day, but mostly this episode is centered around Nelson and Antonia. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this. I thought episode 5 was definitely the best episode of the season, but that's not really saying too much, given that I don't like any of the other episodes that much. I liked this episode, I didn't love it necessarily. It still felt a little bit rushed to me in places, but I thought it was really cool, and I think it was definitely high time that they got the plot rolling a bit. So I thought that was great. It was really cool to see a new villain using Spinjitzu. That's something you don't really see often. We've seen Garmadon use Spinjitzu and the Overlord as the Golden Master use Spinjitzu, but seeing Asphira use Spinjitzu was definitely super cool. Now, Asphira powering up was also something that was very cool too. I liked the concept of her not being powered up when she was released from the tomb, a kind of blackish stone version of her, and I thought the pyramid was also a very cool location too. It was nice to see all of those booby traps and stuff, and it was a very cool location. I loved how they did it, and I can't wait to see in episode 7 how they go ahead and continue with the pyramid and how the ninja will have to escape it, what more of the traps we'll end up seeing. So yeah, I'm definitely looking very forward to that. Clutch Powers, that's one big problem that a lot of people have had. I don't really care too much. I watched the Clutch Powers movie a long time ago, and clearly I don't really remember anything about it, so I'm just guessing that it wasn't really that impactful on me. So I don't really care that much about Clutch Powers, but yeah, people are saying that he's just very underwhelming, which I can understand. If he is an explorer, then he's just kind of abandoning the ninja. What he does in this episode is when the ninja are being captured, Clutch Powers just kind of runs out of there and flees for his own life. So I thought that was very lame, and a lot of people thought that was very lame. I mean, I kind of agree with this, But again, I don't really care all that much because Clutch Powers really isn't Ninjago. Now, as for that episode, I did think the Fire Fang being freed, yeah, that was a bit quick, but it wasn't too bad. Now, actually, for the next episode, this episode was very playful, and I thought that the concept behind it was really cool, and it was a very cute episode for the most part. And I thought that it was awesome that they brought back Nelson. I think that's something that people have wanted for a while, even though he really is a very, very minor character. But I thought that it was done well for the most part. There were some small touches in this episode too, such as in the scene where Nelson is going down the stairs. You could see some photos of his various injuries, so I thought that that was very funny too. And yeah, I mean, the end of this episode kind of shows them going to the monastery, Antonia and Nelson going to the monastery and talking to Wu and warning them about the Power Snake invasion. So I didn't really see that adding too much to the plot, but I guess it was fine. Again, we don't really know the English translation, but I think that obviously in the English translation, Wu would have probably said something important to them. Now, the big issue with this episode, I think, is the way that the citizens really handled this attack on Ninjago City. It just kind of seemed like they didn't really care all that much, and especially Antonia and Nelson, it just kind of seemed cringy almost, them just riding through the city while everything is getting destroyed. Little Nelson doing an anime jump over a bridge. I don't know, it just didn't really seem to work all that well, and it just felt a little bit, I don't know, just weird. It didn't feel right. It didn't seem right for the citizens of Ninjago City just to be hanging around, for Antonia to just be casually tossing out papers. Something definitely seemed off about that, because it's not like that in the past. I get that Ninjago City is a city that is really cursed by this. They are constantly getting invaded, but in the past, the citizens have shown fear. There has been more of a reaction to any invasion. In Garmadon's attack on the city in episode 84, you can clearly see citizens running away. There is an atmosphere of fear surrounding them, so I don't understand why this was absent in this episode. But again, these two episodes were definitely a lot better than what we had seen in the past, and I thought the concept for episode 6 was very, very creative. Although this did break Jay's streak of being in every single episode, and it did kind of, well, unfolding the plot a little bit more, it also took away from the plot at the same time, which isn't bad at all, actually. I thought it was, again, a really cool concept to explore the invasion from another perspective. So I think, having more episodes to do stuff leads to some of these more creative opportunities. And in this case, having an 11-minute episode to focus on Antonia and Nelson definitely was a good idea. All in all, I think these episodes are definitely better than the other two, or the other four, actually. But I don't think these are perfect yet. I definitely like these episodes, but I don't necessarily love them. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, share with anyone and everyone you know, and let me know what you guys thought of these episodes. Once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.